Okay, so a long time ago, the Big Bang banged reality and divided it into light, darkness, and chaos. The light became Paradiso, or heaven, darkness became Inferno, or hell, and chaos became the land of humans, or Nyquil chicken. The ruler god of chaos, Acer, felt pity for humans and decided to let them rule themselves, dividing his power into two eyes. One was given to the Lumen Sages, protectors of light, and the other to the Umbra Witches, mystics of the darkness. Acer then divided himself into good and evil because he thought it was a good idea and faded from common knowledge. Acer's good side became a Yugi Muto cosplayer, and his evil side began his plot to take over the world. Meanwhile, the two forces of light and dark maintained a rocky balance of peace. However, this truce breaks when the Lumen Sage Baldur decides to romance and knock up the Umbra Witch Rosa, creating a daughter named Cereza. Because true love is a f***ing sin, Baldur is cast out of the Lumen Sages, and Rosa is imprisoned for the rest of her days. Then the witches and sages fight in the clan wars, blah 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 blah, and the witches win, blah 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 blah. In a desperate bid to unite the divided realms, the four high angels of Paradiso called the Laguna decide to butt-poke Baldur into fighting the Umbra Witches again with the last surviving sages. This somehow works, causing a great witch hunt to almost wipe out the witches. However, Baldur learns from one of the Laguna, Fortudo, that they plan to eliminate both the sages and witches to obtain Acer's eyes and resurrect Jubileus, the embodiment of divine will and ruler god of heaven. Suddenly, the evil side of Acer moves to strike at Baldur, but not before Rosa intercepts the attack with her body and dies instead. Enraged, Baldur promises to hunt down the silver-haired boy for his crime. As the vow is made, he is suddenly sent 500 years into the future by a mysterious power, important for later. The hunt causes the Umbra Witches to be eradicated, but not before Cereza is locked away without her memories by her best friend Jean in an attempt to have at least one witch survive. Jean pieces out to be used as a plot device later, and Cereza is hidden away at the bottom of a lake until it's safe to come out. Fast forward 500 years and Cereza is woken up by Antonio Redgrave, who is hired to investigate the existence of witches. As she awakens, angels come down and slaughter Antonio because
no witnesses!
Except there was a witness, a little boy named Luca. Since humans can't see angels, Luca believes Cereza killed his father and vows to follow in his father's footsteps by stalking the witch. Without her memories to guide her, Cereza dons the name Bayonetta and takes to killing angels for money while also trying to determine her past. She meets a sleazeball named Enzo and helps him with odd jobs, while she befriends an informant from hell, Rodan, in an attempt to learn more about herself and her powers. Eventually, she comes upon the legend of the Eyes of the World, leading her to the Paradiso-blessed town of Vigrid. There, she is hunted by angels, including the Laguna, and continues to be stalked by Luca, who she lovingly nicknames Cheshire. Diving deeper into Vigrid, she encounters Jean, but does not remember who she is. Jean, clearly brainwashed, taunts Bayonetta, and they fight a couple of times because sexy witch battles are awesome. Bayonetta also meets a little girl who calls herself Cereza. Unaware that this is her own name, and only mildly perturbed that Cereza can see her fight angels, she guides the little girl, with Luca, to the Isle du Sol, and confronts the man behind the Eyes of the World rumor, Baldur. Taking Cereza into his arms, Baldur reveals that he waited 500 years for her and wishes to use the Eyes of the World to resurrect Jubileus. I promise this will make sense, stay with me. He yeets Luca out a window and provokes Bayonetta to fight him, taking the little girl Cereza into his body as an energy boost of some sort, I guess. He gets his ass handed to him, and Bayonetta returns Cereza to her own time using magic. However, this awakens the power of the left eye within her, as she was the one meant to carry it by the Umbra Witches. She gets all of her memories back and succumbs to the pain of the eye, leaving her open to Baldur, who has the right eye. He takes her into a statue of Jubileus and launches them both
into space!
Free from Baldur's brainwashing, Jean races into space on a motorcycle and saves Bayonetta, allowing her to destroy Jubileus once and for all. Baldur, trapped within Jubileus' right eye, falls with her and crashes into Earth. As he crawls out of the statue, a mysterious dark force attempts to escape Baldur's dying body in vain. Baldur clings to this force and is Thanos snapped out of existence with a final blessing to his daughter. Time skip to Christmas and Bayonetta is making Enzo her shopping porter. As a plane almost crashes into Enzo while he's buying his children's presents, Bayonetta kicks it out of the way and climbs aboard to fight some seemingly rogue angels. Jean joins her, and everyone gets a nosebleed that day. But when Bayonetta's pet Gamora breaks free of Bayonetta's hold, Jean takes a devastating blow from it, dying instantly. Her soul is dragged into hell, and Bayonetta punishes Gamora for its insolence. To save Jean, Rodan tells Bayonetta to travel to Fimbulvinter, a sacred mountain that contains the gate to Inferno. There, she can rescue Jean's soul and save her. Bayonetta forces Enzo to fly her there and makes her way through Noatun, the village at the mountain's base. Bayonetta then meets a mysterious silver-haired boy whose only goal is to climb Fimbulvinter, and journeys with him up the ascent. Angels attempt to stop them every step of the way, and Bayonetta strikes up a deal. She will protect him if the boy shows her the way to Hell's Gate. He gives her his name, Loki, and agrees. Luca, who didn't die, shows up to provide more historical context to the mountain. He regales the story of Acer, which tickles Loki's brain a little. The journey up only continues to be interrupted by angels wanting to capture Loki, and a mysteriously masked Lumen Sage who wants to kill him. Kind of obvious who he is with that motivation. They reach Hell's Gates but are stopped by the Lumen Sage and spirit animal kite Lopter, who is evil Aesir but older. They fight off their obstacles and manage to jump into Inferno, where Bayonetta makes a beeline to Jean. She finds the demoness Elron keeping Jean as a prisoner. Seeing Bayonetta as a witch and realizing Bayonetta has a pact with the mighty Madama Butterfly, another demoness, Elron jumps at the chance to fight her nemesis, only to get her ass handed to her. Radon jumps in to turn Elron into a weapon, and Bayonetta frees Jean's spirit before turning to look for Loki. The Lumen Sage and Loki are found playing violent cat and squirrel before Bayonetta finally intervenes. The sage reveals himself to be a younger Baldur, having been freshly transported there from 500 years prior with the intent to kill the silver-haired boy. However, before Baldur can beat Bayonetta, Loki releases a wave of energy that shoots Baldur and Bayonetta back 500 years. There, Bayonetta meets Rosa and fights off the army of angels sent to aid in the witch hunts. However, she then watches younger Lopter, evil Aesir, kill Rosa, with Baldur again reliving the trauma of losing the woman he loves. Bayonetta takes Baldur back to the present, whispering, "Mummy," as a farewell to her mother. With the help of revived Jean, Bayonetta and Baldur fly off to find an older Lopter at the peak of Fimbulventr. Lopter has captured Loki, revealing that they are halves of the same soul, Aesir. He offers Loki to Baldur for his revenge, only to be surprised when Baldur attacks him instead. Bayo, Baldur, and Lopter fight, with Bayo and Baldur losing their eyes of the world and giving Lopter the power to fully become Aesir without Loki. Still, Bayonetta and Baldur kick his ass with their combined forces, causing Lopter to attempt an escape to the spirit realm. Not having any of his Baldur absorbs Lopter into his body. Loki warns that Lopter will poison his mind, but Baldur remains steadfast. He returns to his time with Lopter in his body, revealing to Bayonetta that he knew she was his daughter before making her vow to stop any evil deed he may induce in the future. Yes, that means Baldur was the villain from the first game because Lopter was an asshole to him in the second. Without Lopter, Loki cannot maintain his form, so he says farewell to Bayonetta. The witches celebrate their holiday by killing angels and being sexy as hell, stronger than Dante could ever be. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.